You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
Let's talk some Blue Jays with Keegs. And Keegs, I've got some good news and some bad news. I always deliver bad news, so you get the good news buffer at the end.
I like it.
The bad news, Jays have lost 4 straight. They've scored 4 runs in 3 games. The good news is all this is happening while the Leafs are in the postseason, so maybe no one will notice.
There you go. You got a shield for probably more than a couple weeks here. Looks like they'll get to round 2. We'll see. But if you're the Blue Jays, you're happy right now, man, because you're always going to have me there. They can't shake me, unfortunately. But the big, heavy-hitting columnists and sports talk shows get distracted for a couple of weeks because, man, it's been a bad few days. Going back to... Well, actually, Dan, I remember the day they started this losing streak because it's the day I wrote a story saying there's something different in this Blue Jays clubhouse.
That's right. I read that article last night, and we talked about that. You said, yeah, there's a different vibe.
And you know what? 5 years ago, I'd be sitting here today thinking, oh, my God, I screwed up, blah, blah. I still really believe it. Like, I'm around this team enough. I really do believe that there's something better happening here. They just can't hit. I don't think there's anything complicated about it. And maybe that's the difference for me, Dan. Because I feel like I'm covering game 500 of like the 2023 season right now. I'm losing my mind, but there's nothing complicated about it. The last couple of years, it was more complicated. This year, they just need to hit, period. Nothing else. Nothing more complicated than that. And oh boy, it is not happening lately.
But they can't hit, but they also are giving up a crap ton of runs.
It's not a good combination. It's the analytics say, fellas. It's been tough lately because you see pitchers, like I'm thinking the last couple of days here, Chris Bassett being a great example. Over and over again, Bassett is giving you fantastic outings. Kevin Gausman's recent start was another good example. Great outings leading into it, and then gives you 4 or 5 really good innings to start. And it's kind of like the great metaphor of asking these guys to carry too much. Eventually your arms start to shake, and you can't do it all by yourself. The more I'm around veteran pitchers like these guys, and they've been an incredible lesson to be around, you start to understand the difference between pitching in a 0-0 inning and pitching in an inning with a 10-run lead. That stress is a real thing. And again, the Jays are just piling stress onto their pitchers, and they're going for a shortened 4-man rotation through already. It's over and over again.
We're still in April. It is very early. The flowers are still coming out of the ground. The trees are still blossoming. They haven't even got to that point. So I feel bad even asking this question. But is John Schneider, is he safe for the entire season? Is this a team that has given him full confidence, and whatever goes wrong or goes right, he is firmly entrenched?
I can't say that all season because I don't think anybody is. Unless you are a first-year manager or unless you are someone like Alex Cora, Kevin Cash. I'm thinking of nearby examples of a guy who is really entrenched. That said, Dan, going back 4 days to when this little skid started, I was wondering when the Blue Jays would announce that John Schneider's option has been picked up. Because that's been a bit of an odd thing coming out of camp into the first bit of the season. Because under this front office, both Charlie Montoyo and John Gibbons were put in spots where either they had options picked up or a rolling thing, where they weren't facing what Schneider is right now, I think. I was curious if that would happen in spring training. Now that Vladdy was locked up, I wondered if that would come soon behind it. We'll see. But, man, it changes quickly. It's, yes, I can fall back on the he can't go out in there and hit for them type of thing, but we all know how this works, regardless of sport, when there is a letdown, when there's a disappointment. I think John Schneider has plenty of leash, and he should. But any manager in Major League Baseball, when things get disappointing, it's we've talked about this in the past, Dan, I think. I view baseball teams as companies now. And there's always someone above you who doesn't want to get fired, so they fire down. It's how it works. It is not always fair, but if I had the choice between risking my job and firing the person under me, let's not pretend I'm going to be a good guy either. It's a lot of folks looking out for themselves when it gets to that point. Hopefully it doesn't. That would get messy after such an encouraging start in a tough April. But things can change real quick.
But the safety net he has is no one expects anything from this team. So I see the only way he gets canned is if a 4-game losing streak turns into a 20-game losing streak, and then you're out of a job. He just has to mitigate long losing streaks, and he's safe.
The Blue Jays just need to stay involved.
I think that's what he has going for him.
Yeah, and the AL helps. Right now, there's no Goliath. The Yankees are pretty good, but there's not a Dodgers. There's no big, scary team in the AL. The Blue Jays' job, and they're still doing this right now, is to stay involved until the trade deadline. And then I think they go nuts. You don't want to say that as a consolation after losing 4 in a row. They're still in it. That sounds like an excuse. But where they are right now, they're in that big blob of the middle teams, which is kind of where we thought they'd be. Going into the season, I felt like this was a 500-ish team. And if something goes right or wrong, you tilt in either direction. Right now, we've seen both of those things. Early on, we've seen what it looks like when they play great defense, pitch brilliantly, and win some games. And we've seen what happens when they just plain don't hit. And they have not hit for power, which, speaking of conversations we're on day 500 of, my God, they've got to hit some home runs. But at this point, for John Schneider and for the Blue Jays, they've just got to stay involved. Keep that hope alive. I always use those 2015 Blue Jays as the example. They were not running away with the league when they went out and made big trade additions. Then they went on a run. So this is something where I think clubhouse feel is pretty important. And when you look at the organization, I mean, you're not going to get rid of a GM or a president that just signed Vladdy for $500 million. That ain't happening. So it's obvious where the pressure falls to at this point, but I don't think it falls too hard on that. And I think it will balance itself out because in the AL, you just got to stay involved, man, until the trade deadline because you can really separate yourself.
What's the update on Max Scherzer? He got a cortisone shot in his ailing thumb. How did that take?
Yeah, another, which is not usually a compliment on the first cortisone shot. It's like getting a second opinion. But Max Scherzer threw in Houston in the outfield, just playing catch there yesterday. And he told reporters there that it felt good. But he's also saying that, listen, until I'm up to 75 pitches, we don't know. And that's what makes this scary for the Blue Jays, because you can't really do any form of long-term planning at this point. When they shift back to a 5-man rotation, Easton Lucas is still an option. Paxton Schultz, who surprised with a great outing, is an option. Jake Bloss, maybe. But when Max Scherzer is saying that he still needs to build up, and even then, you don't know what you're going to get until you're at 75 pitches, that's tough. Because even when he's out there, Dan, we could be watching Scherzer's return 3 weeks from now. 5 scoreless inning, he's at 65 pitches. You're still going to be worried. And that's a real tough one. So this thumb injury is so tricky. Like we've talked about, it's connected to everything. If you start to change how you grip your thumb, that changes the finger next to it, which changes your wrist, your forearm. Then you get into the scarier things like the elbow and the shoulder, the biceps, triceps. That's what Scherzer keeps talking about. That if he tries to play with this and push through it, it won't be the thumb that blows off his body, but something else will go in the arm. That keeps happening. He knows his thumb, elbow, arm better than anyone I have ever spoken to. I think he knows more things than anyone I have ever spoken to, just period. But it's complicated, and complicated is not good.
You mentioned Paxton Schultz.
Yeah.
This is a good news story about how he made it onto the roster. He was in the right place at the right time. Tell that story.
Yeah, these are the fun ones, man. And listen, I'm in spring training for 40 days, which means I'm writing 60, 70 stories. I did not consider writing a story about Paxton Schultz. I will not pretend that he was a dark horse that I knew was coming. No! He wasn't even a big league roster invite in camp. He was a guy who you would look at on the AAA roster and say, oh, okay. If there's a rain delay, he can give them a few innings, that type of thing. Important depth piece, but not someone you expected that would come up and tie an MLB record for the most strikeouts in a debut out of the bullpen. When he got the call, it was him and Dylan Tate, the reliever. When those two guys got the call, Dylan Tate was for sure going to debut that next day in 2025. Paxton Schultz was on the taxi squad, so he rode with him. And at the border, he said, I'm just going to watch Dylan Tate throw in Toronto. It was about 10 minutes from the ballpark that Paxton Schultz got the nod. Like, listen, we're putting Sandlin on the IL. You're on the roster now. And Easton Lucas went out, got rocked, and it was Paxton Schultz's job. And man, I have covered that exact scenario 100 times, Dan, and 99 times Paxton Schultz would go out, throw some slop innings, allow a couple runs, whatever, DFA'd the next day. Take some bullets for the rest of the bullpen. Here's your lineup card. Take some of the free Blue Jays gear. See ya. And that's all it is. But he pitched so well, you couldn't do that. He pitched incredibly for the team, and it was really fun to hear someone like that speak after a game. You know, I spend every day speaking to guys like Vladdy and Barrios and Gosman who are supposed to be there. But hearing from someone like Paxton Schultz, who surprised everyone and cashed in on it, like made it work, impressed people, like that's fun to see. So all the power to that guy. He had, whether he stays in the big leagues for 5 years or 2 more days, like he had a moment, and most people never get that. He really did. He had one, and you need those success stories. The Jays have not had enough of those in recent years. Easton Lucas was one for a couple of days. Paxton Schultz is it now, and it's a hell of a story.
And it's great to see the energy from the other guys because they get to relive what it was like when they first came up.
Definitely. When you see, and we saw this with those early Easton Lucas starts as well. When Vladdy wins you a game, yeah, it's cool. But when someone like this comes up and has a big performance, somebody comes out of nowhere and does something. You see a lot of the same with Alan Roden when he's had his first hit, first home run, first diving catch. It excites these guys, man. George Springer, Barrios, Gosman, Scherzer, these guys have been around forever. They have seen a lot of things. But having those young performances is what excites a clubhouse. And you need a mix. If you're a roster of all 34-year-old veterans, there's not going to be enough juice, not enough energy in there. But if you're a roster of all kids, there's not going to be enough wisdom. I think the Jays have a very good mix of that. And when you get the oddball story thrown in like that, it fires guys up, man. It really, really does.
Let's get an update because I've heard nothing. You're tapped into a lot of writers and broadcasters. How are things going for Tampa? Because they are playing in the New York Yankees spring training facility. And how are things going for the A's? Because they're playing in Sacramento. Have not heard a single thing about either experience.
These are interesting days, man. And I know that George M. Steinbrenner Field well because that's where where the Yankees play in spring training. So we're there quite a bit. And I vividly remember all the times I was there during those COVID spring trainings. The Blue Jays played at Steinbrenner a ton. So that is a nice field. It is very much a spring training field, but it's still the Yankees. You know, it's still got an air of something about it. There's still a few dollars put into it. Absolutely. And I don't think that fit is as jarring because the Rays, when you look at their average crowd, it's about what would fill that stadium. So they have been filling it. And if you're going to play in front of 10,000 fans, doing it in a 10,000 seat stadium feels a lot better than in an empty 40,000 in the Trop. And God bless the Trop. I love it. But where the top deck would be tarped off and you could tell that people weren't there. So I hope they're able to figure this out and stay in the area, do it successfully long term because I spend so much time down around there in spring training. And I love the area. You know, I go full Florida man. Sacramento is interesting to me. I'm hoping that I'm on that trip in the second half. I'll need to check. But where this goes long term, I'm not sure. But talking to other writers and media going in, there's a level of fascination. Because, for example, Dan, tomorrow I fly to New York. I've been to New York 400 times at this point. I don't need to go do touristy things. I like to sit in the hotel, have a beer, go to Yankee Stadium. But when people are going to Sacramento and these new stadiums, it's brand new in terms of where the press box is. We've seen on social the outdoor structure building they have to do press conferences in. Those are the ways that it's not always built for Major League Baseball life. It's not the stadium and stuff we see, but it's weight rooms. I think about when the Blue Jays played in Buffalo, how they had to remodel all of that. It is suddenly, where do we put 20 media? when this stadium is built for the minor leagues where there's just one guy there. So it's, man, a lot of stuff happening on the fly. There are people in the business baseball ops in those organizations who are having, I bet, the wildest years of their lives and have not slept in a long time. So shout out to them. But it's, man, interesting days. And I want to be able to see Sacramento, just to say that I had it on my list.
And they're going to be there a long time because they haven't even broken ground on the stadium in Vegas.
Yeah, this could be an interesting one with Sacramento. And both with them and the Rays, of course, there's a lot of interest around the league, how that works out. And everyone's always looking at new cities, new locations, and certainly with the A's where they're going to end up, man. But it's been fun to see some of the players. I don't know if embracing it is the right word, but the A's have a lot of fun young players coming up. Like if I was just getting into baseball now, or if I was picking up MLB The Show and I wanted to start a franchise with like a fun young team, they've got some cool young players, man. Like I love watching Lawrence Butler play. They're spending a little bit of money now. So there's a bit of a team there to build around because no matter what infrastructure, what business plan you have, nothing is going to beat winning ever, ever, ever. So if they can ride a bit of a baseball success into whatever this next era is for them, that could be pretty cool. I hope the fans, get what they want as well. But it's we'll see. Interesting couple years ahead.
We'll finish with this because again, we like good news here. And I was going across Instagram reels or something, and I saw pitchers talking about their favorite mounds to pitch off of. And I heard something good said about the Trop, in which players all confirmed that the Trop's mound was the best mound to pitch off in Major League Baseball.
I've heard that, man. I've heard some people compliment Rogers Center as well, but it is an art form, dude. And I know this because they're normally building the mound when I get there at about 2 or 3 o'clock to write my pregame stories. So I'm sitting in the press box, wherever I'm at, whatever stadium, and they're typically layering different types of clay, dirt, stone, clay, layer after layer. And they have this, it's like a manual jackhammer. It's this big shovel handle with a hammer on the end that goes wham, wham. And it echoes through the stadium and it goes for an hour. So I usually have a much more profane, angry reaction to it at the time. But the amount of work that goes into a mound, like it's not just a pile of dirt. There's a science to this stuff, man. And pitchers have their opinions on it. We see it a lot with bigger pitchers who drive through with their legs. Think of Alek Manoah. He's always looking at the mound, kicking at it, cursing it. These pitchers care about that stuff, man. And the real savants, like I bet if you got Chris Bassett or Max Scherzer going about mounds, they would have a doctoral thesis on this.
Sign me up for that. I would watch that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But man, the Trop, just another thing the Trop does well. My favorite place in baseball. I hope it will rise again.
Yeah, hopefully. I haven't heard nothing on that. Keegs, appreciate it, and hopefully the Jays figure things out here.
Hey, we'll see.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.